I'm Olivia, and this is Ritual Kitchen, where I like to talk about rituals, recipes, plants, food. This is just kind of a way for me to have some fun, combine some things, learn some things, and share some things. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about vanilla because it is kind of one of those plants that's really, I don't know, I guess attracted me in the last years, or where I've learned more about it. You know, besides dessert so often being flavored vanilla. The first big meeting I had with vanilla was I worked in like a factory for maybe a month. I think I was like early 20s. And so I got this job at this like tea and vanilla factory. And my job there was to put the vanilla beans into the little glasses for 8 hours a day for a couple weeks. And so there was this huge room where like all of the vanilla was stored. I think most of it came from Madagascar. And it was such an intense smell. Like, it's so intense and so recognizable. I mean, how often do you end up in rooms that are just like completely full of that smell? I didn't really think about it much after that. And then spending the last 2 winters in Mexico, it kind of became relevant again because vanilla is originally from Mexico, and I got to see the plant in the wild and understand it a little bit better and learn more about orchids in general. Yeah, and that there's something really beautiful about the plant, just as a metaphor. So vanilla is native to Central and South America. Mexico is one of those main places. Oaxaca, the state of Oaxaca, is actually, I think, one of the only places, or the only place, where vanilla is also pollinated in the wild. So that area of the world still has the pollinators, or always had the pollinators that would pollinate that plant. And that was by bees and hummingbirds. And so the big thing with vanilla, especially when it's not grown in Oaxaca, is it has to be pollinated by hand. So there are people who are working to find the flowers, and they have to pollinate them by hand. So it's an extremely labor-intensive job. Vanilla is part of the orchid family, and it is a vine, so it likes to climb. So you'll usually find it climbing up other trees. And the flavor is found in the fruit, so in the seed pods. And so for each flower, there's one fruit. The plant has female and male organs, and they're like between 250 and 500 different flavor components to it, so it's quite complex. There are like 3 major species that are grown, and they're all derived from the version that was grown in Mesoamerica. Most of the vanilla that is, created for our gastronomic experiences comes from Indonesia and Madagascar now. So that's like 75% of it. Like I said, in commercial production from vanilla, it has to be hand pollinated. So the people have to find the flowers that only bloom for about 24 hours and predominantly at night, and pollinate them within that time frame. So that is like the first step of complicatedness. But it also just like in general needs specific growing conditions, and the plant's quite susceptible to diseases. So even after the flower's been successfully pollinated, it's like there's a lot of different steps after that to kind of keeping it going. It's the second most expensive spice in the world after saffron, and so that might be a little bit confusing, seeing as like so much is flavored by vanilla. But what is happening is like 95% or more is an artificial vanilla. So it's like 20 times cheaper, and some of the components that are part of the official vanilla are like byproducts of other chemical processes. So that's why like a bourbon vanilla ice cream is going to be, more expensive, or things that are actually using bourbon vanilla, or when you buy it in the store, or when you buy vanilla extract. That is why it is so expensive. And that is why the other things that are artificially flavored are so cheap. It's because it's artificial. So yeah, the history is that vanilla was cultivated by pre-Columbian Mesoamerican cultures, and it only got spread after the Spaniards came. Some of the first people where it is known that vanilla was cultivated were the Teutonic people, which is now Veracruz, Mexico. They were eventually conquered by the Aztecs, and the Aztecs used vanilla to flavor their drinks. Mexico was the chief producer, or like the main producer of vanilla until the mid 19th century, and then they started cultivating it on different continents as well. It first appeared in a traditional cookbook in 1805, and one of the main situations where it's kind of spread was after it was introduced in England to Queen Elizabeth I. It kind of spread throughout Europe from there. Vanilla is quite stimulating. Some people call it an aphrodisiac. It can help with digestion and flatulence. So that might be a good reason why it's been used in dessert quite a bit, subconsciously. People say that it is the closest smell to mother's milk. So that's kind of why it has this really maybe motherly, comforting, sweet scent to it that we kind of are quite drawn to. As a herbal medicine or as a flower essence, it is said to help with emotional trauma, low libido, and with negativity. And I think it's just, all orchids are beautiful, but there is really just something fascinating about the fact that the plant only, opens for that super short amount of time. And yeah, and I just find it very, very beautiful as a metaphor with, just that one single flower opening for such a short window of time in which it has to be pollinated. And it's amazing that that little plant, somehow spread throughout the whole world, and everyone at least knows the flavor and recognizes the flavor, whether that's artificial or the real version. But it's quite a powerful plant to have made itself so well known. Thank you for watching just this little informative video without any tutorial or anything. And if you liked it, share the channel with your friends, with people who might be plant food aficionados, and I'll see you soon.